Hey guys, Dennis here with Revog Games, and this is my first impressions review of the game Zenith, The Last City, which is a VR game, MMO, action adventure RPG on Oculus Quest, also on VR, PC VR, which you can get it on Steam VR, or it has a cross buy where if you buy it on Oculus Quest, you can also play it through the Oculus Rift on the Oculus app as well. So that's actually what I did, and I'll explain why later. Zenith, The Last City is a VR MMO RPG, action RPG, which is developed by Ramen VR, and it's, one of the typical MMO games where you can get into a large world. I mean, this is not a huge world compared to console games or regular PC games or regular PC RPGs, but it's fairly big for a VR game. You kind of start off in a small area and you kind of expand outward. I haven't gotten that far yet, but I've seen they show you the whole world map, and you can go around to much more places than just the initial starting point. So much like how After the Fall VR was kind of like a VR take on Left 4 Dead, this is a VR take on basically Phantasy Star Online, if you played it, or other RPG MMOs online. To me, it reminds me most of Phantasy Star, which is even the design, the graphics, the way you play is very similar to that. The graphics are colorful, anime style and design. There is a lot of pop-in, especially on the Quest version. There is a lot of characters, so you kind of take it, it's acceptable. There's a lot of characters running around. Things are going to pop in and out, but enemies will pop in, pop out. On the Oculus Quest version, obviously the pop-up is more significant. Speaking of which, because I mentioned before, I bought the Oculus Quest version. I could play it also on the Oculus Rift S version, so I've actually played it on both. And obviously the PC VR version is, the graphics are a little better, or I don't know, in some ways, some much better. I mean, the overall design of it is, you get the same feeling from it, but obviously the PC VR, the environments are much more detailed. Their character models have a much higher poly count than the Quest version, and also there's better animation when you're fighting with the enemies. But overall, either way is fine. Actually, my preferred way to do it is through the Oculus Air Link, using my Quest 2 and playing it off of the PC VR version. At first I had some problems with it. It was stuttering and the resolution wasn't that great. And then I realized that if you go into the AirLink settings, the problem is if you put it on dynamic, it basically picks the lowest possible rate that you can get, and so the frame rate isn't good, the resolution isn't very good, so it looks terrible. I figured out if you just do a fixed bit rate, as long as your Wi-Fi is decent enough, you can actually get a good frame rate and good resolution, and it looks a lot better. So right now, my preferred way to do it is to play with my Quest 2 using AirLink to my PC. But if you don't have a PC, it's fine. You can still play it on the Quest 2 by itself. Now to the gameplay. So at first, it seems like a very simple game. You can either choose whether a Blade Master, which is the melee combat character, or you can play as the Essence Mage, which is the ranged combat player. There's actually supposed to be a third one that they haven't released yet. They have a little question mark, and they're kind of teasing out to people, hey, eventually we're going to have this third class. Either way, I've only started with the melee one, the Blade Master, and it's been pretty fun so far. You start off with, you can dual wield weapons, and you can upgrade those weapons, and at first it seems like, oh, okay, you're just like hacking and slashing, but later as you play the game, you figure out, oh, it's a little more than that, because you can get these god stones that power up different moves, and you can do different moves whether you're holding the trigger or the direction that you're swiping or you're slashing, and then through that you can upgrade the different styles. And also something that took me a little while to realize is that you're not supposed to actually wave your hands around crazily like I did. I was doing what I call the Conductor move, which is like waving around like a symphony conductor. You're not supposed to do that because you're supposed to let the weapons kind of recharge for a second or two, and it makes a little sound and also a little visual effect on the tip of the blade. And then if you wait and you attack, you actually get more power or more damage to your enemies, instead of just doing what I call the Conductor method, which actually you get less actually damage towards enemies. So actually that's something you I figured out later on, but it's something you definitely need to do. Besides combat, you can actually climb and glide, much like Population 1, but it's different in the sense of the mechanics are the same. However, in Population 1, climbing and gliding have a lot to do with combat because it's PvP and how you move around and attack. The climbing and flying in this are more geared towards just moving around the environment, because it is a big environment and you want to be able to get to different areas much more quickly. So it's essential in terms of not, getting to places you need to go, but it's not like essential in terms of any kind of combat strategy. Now, crafting was something that I wasn't sure how to do, maybe because I had passed the tutorial part in the initial city where you're supposed to learn it. I learned how to do it in a tutorial, but it's interesting. You have basically your own station that you kind of toggle on and off, and you can do it anywhere in your environment. And then you actually cook it. It's not even hey, I'm gonna just combine, most games where you take your items and you just say, okay, I have these 3 items, and then bam, give me the whatever thing that I'm doing, which is the first thing you learn how to do is bake cookies. Instead, you actually have to cook it. They have a little stove, and then you got to put the milk in there and heat the milk up, and then you got to put the flour in a pan, and you actually have to toss the pan, and then you put it all together with the sugar, and then it gets baked, and you get a cookie. So I don't know, because I've only done a few times, so at first it's kind of fun. I don't know if it's going to be tedious later on, but you're supposed to get more recipes later on, and then therefore you can create more items that you can get that you can use that give you more buffs in terms of damage or health or armor or all that good stuff. Now here's the part where keeps people going on this game, which is the leveling up, the gear, and cosmetics. Now, I haven't run into any cosmetics changes yet. I don't know if that's something you have to pay for. I hope not. I hope there's no microtransactions, since the game is not free to play. It is a $30 game. So I'm hoping the cosmetics can't come later on. In terms of gear, yes, you either can find gear or you can craft gear. So far, I've been lucky enough to find enough gear where I don't have to craft my own yet. I do have enough elements to do it. Obviously, you get addicted to leveling up, getting better gear so you can fight enemies. What's cool about this is that when you start off in the level, you start off in an area that's very low level enemies, and as you progress through the world, as you get further along, there's much more enemies that are higher level that are hard to hurt. Now the story, I guess this is probably the weakest part of the game. For an RPG MMO, there's a base loose story about the environment and the characters and in your missions, but the missions are literally just hey, go kill XYZ, go destroy this, go glide through here. The story motivation isn't really there, because it's just hey, these people are attacking the villages, go clean it up, So there's nothing really. It's a very thin story, just used to get you to do certain tasks. So the fun of the game actually comes into when you join up with other people, whether it's strangers or people that you're friends with. You can create a guild, but going on raids, there's random events that happen in certain areas. You can go in together to attack, and then that's how you can attack much higher level enemies. Running off on your own is fun, but not quite as fun as when you're teaming up with other people. And it's still fun even teaming up with random people. Sometimes I'm not even talking with them with the voice chat, and I just see them and I just follow them where they're going, and then they're fighting enemies and I'm fighting enemies. It's just more fun together that way, and then you're getting to level up a lot faster. So overall, I'm getting pretty addicted to the game. I'm about 5 hours into it, and initially it starts off a little slow. I thought it was very simple, and I was worried that there wasn't going to be enough variety. I'm still worried later on if hopefully it doesn't get too repetitive, but it's starting to open up, and I'm starting to see all the different things that you actually be able to do. And it's actually pretty impressive what Ramen VR have been able to do with their small indie team, and also being able to do it in the VR format, doing it MMO online, and with the Quest 2, the limitations of the Quest as well, and it all together is running pretty smoothly. I mean, sure, there's little bugs here and there, but I haven't run into too many crazy things. And like I said, it reminds me of Phantasy Star Online, which is kind of my entryway into MMOs. It just so I'm starting to really enjoy this. I'm gonna play it and have a review later on and see ultimately where it goes. Does it open up? Is there more variety? I'm already getting addicted, so I think that's the way it's gonna go. But hopefully it doesn't just stop, and hopefully they add more stuff to the game. I'd be willing to pay, much like I mentioned with After the Fall VR. I'm willing to pay for more DLC. I'm not a big fan of microtransactions, and especially for if their prices are crazy. But if they want to do a DLC where they open up another area, add more classes, add more weapons, all that good stuff, I'm willing to pay an extra 10-15 bucks for that. Anyways, if you guys have played Zenith The Last City, let me know what you think. Have you started a guild yet? Are you playing with other friends? How's the experience been for you? Are you playing on the Oculus Quest, or are you playing on PSVR? Did you buy it through Steam or on the Oculus app doing cross-buy? Anyways, you can follow me on Twitter at ThinkHero, or on Instagram, dennis.tzng. Subscribe to this YouTube channel, youtube.com/Revog. We also have a weekly gaming podcast that's on anchor.fm or Spotify. You can look at that there. Until next time, see you guys later.